Happy hump day. Happy hump day. And welcome to Ignite at Night. My name is Nike Olabisi-Green, and I am the creator and chief movement leader at NOLA Movement. At NOLA Movement, we believe that when women are well from the inside out, we can change the world. And I serve that big mission by creating high energy spaces for women to find wellness. What the heck does that mean? High energy spaces? Well, those spaces can be one-on-one coaching with me, group coaching. I've had a fabulous year creating workshops and retreats. And this evening and this series is revisiting my 2022 book club, Ignite Ladies Book Club. So all year we have been talking about powerful books with powerful women about themes that impact the way that all of us show up in the world, right? So we've talked about mental health, we've talked about gender violence, we've talked about so many things. And tonight we're actually revisiting the book that started this all. If you follow me at all, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Rachel Rodgers. I actually got the chance to meet her this summer. She is just as amazing as she is on her podcast and all the things. She's absolutely fabulous. But this is the book that kicked off the Ignite Ladies Book Club summer 2021. We Should All Be Millionaires. And just like Rachel, I believe that we should all be millionaires. And so if you are joining live, if you are here with us watching the replay, let us know in the chat right now where you're from. I am thrilled to welcome another woman powerhouse to this conversation. I've had such an amazing lineup of women join me. I am so thrilled to have Aya join me tonight. And so we're going to get in. We're going to talk about what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to be on this journey, what it means to be a woman of color. And so if you're joining live, if you're watching the replay, let us know where you're from and let us know if you believe we should all be millionaires. So before I bring Aya on, I want to give a shout out to my amazing partner. You guys know how we do over here. If you're at a NOLA event, we are probably having some type of cocktail. And this year I have partnered with American Liquor Co. and have officially donned the Ignite at Night Cosmo. Y'all, it's a simple girls Cosmo. It is simply, not a simple girls Cosmo, but a simple Cosmo to make. It is simply a splash of cranberry juice, some ginger ale, and some American Liquor Co. Y'all, American Liquor is for the girls who are not for the whiskey, but love them some vodka. If you're in the house, drop it in the chat. Let me know where you're at. But let's get into this conversation. I've got my Cosmo ready. I've got my book ready. And I want to welcome up my phenomenal speaker, woman business owner tonight. And I am thrilled to welcome Aya. Aya, pronounce your last name for me because I was practicing and now I'm nervous.
Okay, it's Schlachter.
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 Schlachter. Okay,
Yeah.
I am so thrilled to welcome Aya Shlachter. Thank you for joining me tonight, lady.
Thank you, Rike. This is amazing. I'm so glad I'm here. And hi, everyone who's watching.
Yes. So if you're joining us live, let us know you're here. Let us know where you're joining from. And if you're watching the replay, same thing, because we get the pings afterwards. So we're going to get into this conversation. I'm not going to give you guys a summary of this book because, long story short, we should all be millionaires. That's it. Rachel gives us the blueprint on how to make that happen no matter where you're at. So if you are on your entrepreneur journey, if you're working a job, if you're in a hair salon, she believes, and so do I, that we can always make more money. So Aya, let's get into this. I don't want to read your bio because it's beautiful and amazing and fabulous, but I just want you to tell the people, who are you and why do you care about women making more money?
It's so hard to answer who am I, but I'll answer it. I always tell people I'm an entrepreneur by DNA, but a creative at heart.
Yes.
So I have an architecture background. So I'm Filipina, born and raised in the Philippines, wanted to become a fashion designer, but my dad said, maybe you should take up architecture because that's the foundation of all the arts. So I did and moved to the US and studied architecture school. And I, did what architects are supposed to do, work for 5 years. And I burned out. And, we architects work so much. So when I got married and had a baby, I quit my job
Mm.
to focus on, my daughter Anna, who was, a newborn, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just take some time to chill. And I really knew that I was gonna start a business. Ever since I was young, I
Mm.
knew I was gonna either start a cupcake cafe or like whatever type of business.
Yeah.
So when I was at home, I you know, I tried to focus on my daughter for 3 months, which I did, and I got bored. Is that bad?
No judgment here. Listen, no, that's not bad. That's real.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting, you have no adults to talk to. So a colleague of mine asked me if I wanted to do a side gig and doing like retail store designs. And I said, sure, why not? I did one and I'm like, oh, this is not that hard. So I
Mm.
asked for more. It's for a huge retail company. So I did their store designs and I'm like, you know what? I asked for more work. The guy was like, do you want more work? I can give you more work. I'm like, yeah, give me more work. I hired my friends nights and weekends in my apartment, my one bedroom apartment in Queens, in Jackson Heights.
Yes.
And we were able to do like 300 stores in like 6 months.
Oh my God.
So that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I'm like, I can do this.
Yes.
So yeah, and so like at an early age, I mean, early on in my career, I landed a huge client.
Mhm.
So that gave me the confidence to continue.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's
I love that because I feel like in so many of us, there is this seed, right? There's this seed, like, yeah, like I'm gonna have my own business. Like I'm going to do something because I feel like I mean, I had the same, like as a little kid, growing up in a Nigerian home. For me, it was like, okay, I want to be a doctor because like there was a very short list of like things that you could be, like doctor, engineer. But then I quickly realized, like, okay, I don't like blood. Like I actually don't. This is as a child, like probably like 5 or 6. I'm thinking about these things. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to be a businesswoman. I'm going to have my own business. And I literally like dreamed about like walking around with, and this is 90s, like a power suit with the shoulder pads and like a briefcase. And like that was the seed, right? That was the seed of this little girl, like just knowing like one day I want to have my own business, right? But what I'm
yeah.
hearing you share is like,
Yeah.
and it sounds, even as you talk about it, like it was really like scrappy, but really fun. Like you
Yeah,
hired
and
your
it gave me a
friend.
lot of
It
yes.
was a lot of work, but it was probably like so much fun. Am I hearing that correctly? Because that's what I'm seeing when you're talking about it.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I like money. I'm gonna be upfront about it. I mean, how can I make more and help people, right? So
Yeah.
they're all looking for side gigs, and they earned a decent amount.
Yeah.
I did, and I actually had several side gigs ever since I was young. Like I did makeup, like I was an assistant to a makeup artist during college, and I was a wedding photographer. Believe it or not, um, I've done so many side gigs, but this my company MGS Global. This is really is what's still around and the architect my life. So
Yeah.
I love the hustle. It's just it's so gratifying to be able to succeed starting from like you know solopreneur to now I have almost 30 full-time employees.
Mm,
So I mean I'm just so happy, and it took a lot of work and
yeah.
ups and downs, but that's part of entrepreneurial journey.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love, love, love that. And I love that you just, and this is why I knew I wanted to talk to you. I love that you love money and you're like, yes, like that's it. I love money and I love helping people. Let's go, right?
Exactly.
Let's go.
Because you asked me earlier, why do you think that money is important? It's money gives you power, especially as a woman in the Philippines, and in general, women tend to stay at home and and do, I mean, maybe the old school people, but you know a lot of women don't have enough resources, especially when they're I'm also talking about the women who are going through a lot, like divorce or like a separation or financial if they have like an emergency. So it's good to have like money, like reserves, so that you can it's empowering, it can
Yeah.
give you freedom,
Yeah.
and it's opportunity to help and to serve.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And we're like getting into even a little bit of the mindset conversation. And something that I've been thinking about as I have gone through like Rachel's coaching program and have done all kind of money mindset things and read different books is like how often we move through life and how often folks move through life thinking about, oh, well, I'm going to make decision X because I only have this much money, right? Or
Yeah.
I'm going to make, or I have to make decision Y because the decision that I really want to make costs two times the amount of money I have. And so, really thinking about, wow, what would it look like to navigate life and not have to have that conversation, but have like change the conversation like, okay, this is what I want, or this is what I need, this is what my family needs, right? So that freedom, right? Whether it's for myself or for my kids or for my community or for a politician that I believe in. Like, what if it was okay? The amount needed is X, and I'm going to give that amount, right? Like that to me, I've just been turning that over in my mind. And is one of the reasons why I think I stay so motivated on growing my business to a place like where you're at, because it's like money it really just gives you freedom, right? It's freedom. It's freedom.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I
So
mean, yeah, what else can I say? About doubling down and thinking about, you know, well, like being able to afford things. One of the things that I learned as an entrepreneur, and this is probably, people might think I'm crazy, but at the times when I'm at the lowest in the business, when I have nothing, when during the pandemic or when my business was down, I doubled down on myself and on the business and investing on other things. Even though you don't have money, if you're a business person, you need to double down. Like, can I give you an example? I
like,
was focused on the retail industry for the first 5 years, and we were doing about 100 retail stores a month, Nikkei. A hundred
amazing.
store.
That's
I
amazing.
mean,
There's only
we
30
were
days in a month, so my mind is already doing the math. Like you
yeah,
were
and
busy.
we were busy, and we staffed up and grew the business. but like, I was in the Philippines when I set up my company, but then we moved to Cleveland because the kids were older and my husband wanted to, you know spend time here and take my kids to school here. So I was going through a rough patch and like trying to like adjust to Cleveland life, but everything was smooth in the Philippines. Like, it was like clockwork. We had a system, but I didn't realize that our pipeline was dying
Mm,
because retail later on turned into Amazon.
right.
Slowly it transitioned. So I did not foresee that, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god, I was looking at my bank statements. I'm like, okay, their pipeline is decreasing. So
Yep.
I was
What's
just
going on?
focused. I had two major clients, that was it, and our pipeline was decreasing, and I'm like, this is so bad. So I almost laid off like half of my staff because like I said, it was a rough patch. I was in Cleveland. I didn't have any friends,
Mm.
and all my employees were in the Philippines. I also ran a cafe. I don't know if I told you that, but I had like 7 chocolate cafes
Oh
in the
my
Philippines.
gosh.
I had about like around 90 employees in the cafe on top of the other things. But that's for another story, or later I can explain how I started the cafe business. But I moved to Cleveland so depressed and like, what
Mm,
am I doing here? But I had an opportunity to go to a hospitality conference for
mhm.
hotels and stuff. And the little money that I have, I used it all and invested it on this expo that I joined.
Mm,
And my husband was like, "Wait, that's all your money. We're about to lay off all our like half of our workforce. Are you sure you want to do that?" I
mm.
said, "Yep." So the $10,000 that I had, I invested everything in this
Wow.
show in Vegas,
Wow.
and it turned out to be the best decision in my life because until now, like 8 years later, that $10,000 became at least a million in
Mm.
through the years. Do you
Whew.
know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, speak on that, Aya. Speak on the trust, like the level of trust that you have to have in yourself. Like how and I guess for me sometimes it's hard to maybe articulate it because it's just a knowing, like it's a confidence that I think gets built. But I would love for you to even speak into that. So when you're at that intersection and you like are feeling how you're feeling, but you're at this expo and you're like, you know what, this I know this is what we need. Like, how do you know like I'm gonna be okay? Like this is gonna
I
work.
did not know. And the thing is, it was a hospitality expo,
Mm-hmm.
and people there, it's for hotels, right? So people who had booths in the expo had like fixtures, couches, carpeting, lighting, toilet fixtures, everything for hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But that time I applied and I my website was not on, it was not up yet. So I got in, but I didn't tell my husband yet. I'm like, I'll try to get in if they accept my application. I don't have a product, I have a service.
Yeah.
So they accepted me and I went and I was so clueless. I didn't know what to expect because everyone was selling a product and I was selling a service. But get this, Nikkei, I had 10,000 postcards, and I had a nice booth and, my videos, things like that. My 10,000 postcards did not arrive. And that was my only, I mean, because there was a snowstorm somewhere and I hired like two or three interns in Vegas
Yeah.
to hand out the postcards. It never arrived. I'm like, "Oh my god.
Wow.
This is the end of me. I have nothing. I have Lindt chocolate over there. That's all I can offer and my TV projection." But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs are trying to always play it safe
Yeah.
and see their bank account, and if they have $10,000 they don't want to spend it. If I have 10,000 and I'm down at, if I have to borrow, I'll double down on my investment and spend 20 to
Yes.
make the money back. But in terms of like, there's no security, but you need to be extremely optimistic
Yeah.
and believe that you will receive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to go back to the top of what you said because I think it is so powerful because I asked you, how did you know? And what you said was, I didn't know. And I think that's it, right? It's like when you talk about folks wanting to play it safe, like the truth is when you're on this journey, no matter what level you're at, it's always, and for me, I think of Vegas. Like I literally think of like pushing all of your chips on the table, like being all in, doubling down, which is the language that you use, like that is it. Like you don't know exactly how it's going to shake. Like you just don't know. But what you do know is you can trust yourself, like you always land on your feet, like it's gonna be okay, and that you're gonna figure it out. Like whatever
Yeah.
happens on the other side, like you're going to figure it out. And more often than not, right, it works out, even if it doesn't work out the way that you think it will. And this is, I have folks that I know that are like kind of teeter tottering between like, oh, well, should I leave my job or should I do this and should I do that? And, all I can tell people is just like, look, you won't see the next step until you take the first step. Like you're waiting to see like 4 or 5 steps in advance. Like that's just not how it works. Like you will see maybe 2 or 3 steps. Like obviously you have to be smart and strategic, but you're not going to have like a monopoly board of okay, like roll the dice, go to like spot number 3. Like that's just not how the journey works. And I love
Yeah.
you speaking to that.
Yeah. And also like right before I left, my husband said, "So what type of clients are you looking for?" Meanwhile, this is a hospitality conference. And I said, I want someone like a Starbucks. He's like, what? How can you find a Starbucks in Vegas in a hospitality conference? I'm like, I just want a rollout where a store with 100 stores, like
Hmm.
something that's consistent because I'm not a starchitect. Like a lot of architects are starchitects.
Okay.
My goal of being in business, I have my own sets of goals for being in business to
Yeah.
provide help to architecture firms and to provide employment to as many people as I can.
Yeah.
It's not about me. So I went to the conference and my husband said, "Oh, this girl is crazy. How can you find a Starbucks?" But guess what? I didn't find a Starbucks, but I found Chipotle and McDonald's.
Come on. The
So and Larry was like, "Dang, girl." I'm like, "Well, I didn't work for them directly, but I worked
yeah.
for a contractor who worked with
Yep.
them, and we did like around 300 to 400 Chipotles and McDonald's, like
Oh my
in
god.
a hospitality conference. You just have to verbalize it too and believe that you will receive.
Yeah.
Like if you have a lot of doubts about making money, then you will never make money, and that's what Rachel Rogers says in the book, right? Like you need to
Absolutely.
start believing in yourself. So yeah, I mean, I have so many stories that are just like I don't even know. I think I also believe in like a higher being and also like the secret, have you heard of that book, The Secret
Yep.
of just planting the seeds and believing
Yep.
that you're gonna get it? So yeah, so
Yep.
that's another story that I landed, a food service account in a hospitality conference
Yes.
so far out. Yeah.
I love this because all of the stories that you're sharing, Aya, are like hitting on what I feel like are exactly the points. And so what you went into that conference with was not only a belief in yourself, but you knew who you were looking for. And so in the world of entrepreneur business, like you knew who your ideal client was, right?
Yeah.
You weren't looking to be the rock star. You were looking to find a company that was at a certain scale so that you could serve them that at a certain scale, right? You were not looking for like the mom and pop shop, and you were clear
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that. And that is
Definitely not the mom and pop.
right. Like you're like, no, 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 no. Like I don't want just a mom and pop shop or even, a high end designer who might only have one store or two stores in two or three cities because they're very high end. No, 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 no. I want mass, right? I want
Yes.
mass and I want to hit the ground like right there. And so I love that you're speaking to that because I think part of it is we have to know what we want and we can't be afraid of it. Like we have to walk into spaces very clear on what we want and who we want to serve. And I think to what you're saying is that's when it gets to be attracted to us, right? Our compass
Yeah.
has to be calibrated. Like we
Yeah.
have to be clear. Like we have to be very clear on what we're looking for. And I think that's how we get to attract it into us. So I
Yes.
love, 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 love that.
Yeah. I'm always want to share this story so people will be inspired to really, trust that they can do it. They can be they can make the $1 million that they never even dreamed of. So yeah.
Yes. So if you are joining, welcome to Ignite at Night. I am joined by Aya Slatcher.
Yeah.
Did I get it?
Schlachter.
Oh, I promise I've been practicing.
Schlachter.
Slachter.
Schlachter.
Slachter. Did I get it?
Yes.
Okay.
Schlachter.
And I'm so funny about this because people never get my name right. So I'm like, get her name right, get her name right, get her name right. And we are here talking about why we need to make more money as women. We're talking about Rachel Rogers' book, We Should All Be Millionaires. If you've read it, if you haven't read it, get your copy. It's a great time of year. Rest. Grab it on Amazon. It's like $20. And if you have read it, then let us know in the chat what's resonating with you, what's coming up for you. If you're on your entrepreneur journey, if you have any questions for myself or Aya, we can see the comments. Thank you to those that are with us. And we're going to keep this conversation going. So I would love for us to talk about, and you really just shared one of them actually. I would love for us to talk about BADs and MDDs. So in the book, Rachel talks about broke ass decisions, BADs, BADS, and MDDs, million dollar decisions. So I would love for you to share, because I feel like you just shared a $1 million decision, like going to this conference, like betting on yourself, like doubling down. I feel like you've shared that. Can you share with us maybe a broke ass decision that you have made on your journey? And looking back, you were like, okay, got it. Like, not going to do that again.
Yeah, early in my career, I wanted to do everything, and
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't hire anyone. It was just
Mm-hmm.
me, and then I burned out, and I was, I guess, yeah, I was very conservative back then. So I didn't trust people too, because when you get a big client like that, I felt like I was the only one who can manage.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a broke ass decision that I didn't hire people right away when I should have, or every time like I go to like when business was down twice in my career in 2008 and during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
um I w- I didn't want to spend on anything. Like I was just like, I don't know if that's being responsible, financially responsible, because I also had a lot of staff that I didn't lay off, or I still supported my staff for 6 months. I didn't lay them off. So broke ass decisions, I guess, just not hiring people and just trying to do things by myself.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. And as I continue to be in more rooms with $1 million earners, like that is something that comes up over and over and over. It's like hire people, ask for help. And so what I'll say for folks that are listening, that maybe you're not an entrepreneur, maybe you are a stay-at-home mom, maybe you are working in a corporate space or a nonprofit space. I think as women specifically, we get to practice asking for help, because what we fall into is this mentality of, well, nobody can do it like me, right?
Yeah.
Or nobody can do it as good as I can, or not trusting people. And the reality is, if we're working a business, if we're working to grow a business, we'll never be able to scale, right? And then if we're not, if we're in corporate, or if we're working at home, or if we have a different line of work, we're going to burn ourselves out.
Yeah, and another example of a broke ass decision, which I don't know if it's really a broke ass decision or my scarcity mindset. I can maybe
Mhm.
talk about that a little.
Yeah.
During COVID, I last year I almost lost my business. We were focused on hospitality, right? No one was building hotels, no one was traveling. So now leading to 2022, we started making money. Actually, we're making a lot more money, but when I was in the Philippines on a business trip, I was exhausted, like training my staff. And a friend of mine said, "Wait, how are you flying business class going back to the States?" I said, "No." They're
Mhm.
like, "Why not?
Mm,
Like you work so hard, you're already making money.
mm.
You should fly business class because you need to protect yourself." And I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I can afford it."
Yeah.
So I but my broke ass decision is like I'm still so tight just because
Yep.
conserving all the cash just in case another recession would happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the way there, I was economy, but on the way back, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna spend and take care of myself because I
Yeah.
deserve it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my God. That's such a beautiful segue into like what I want to talk about next. Both $1 million boundaries and $1 million squad. Because what you're speaking into is, and this is the work that I do, right? Specifically, is protecting your energy and like high level self care. And when we decide that we are going to create businesses, or we're going to do something new and different, like we have to set boundaries for ourselves, and part of those boundaries get to be how we're protecting our energy. And so
yes,
flying business class absolutely is a way to practice self care, to protect your energy, to make sure that you are rested and that you can show up. whether it's even getting back home or getting to your destination, that you can show up feeling like your best self. And I think it's so
Yeah.
easy for us to like miss those opportunities because, like you said, that scarcity, like, well, I can save some money if I just fly economy and I'm just I'm uncomfortable, right? And I know I won't be able to rest but it's fine because I'm going to save some money,
And
right?
that was a 20-hour flight. So,
Oh, no. Yeah.
yeah.
Listen, and that's the other thing. There's a difference.
Well,
Economy
something
is
like that, like
economy is
18
one
or
thing.
11 hours and then another 5. I'm
Yeah.
like, not
It's one thing if you're just doing like a short flight from here to there. When you're flying like international or if you're flying across the country, like I'm learning now myself as I've been going back and forth from Cleveland to LA, I'm like, oh, this sitting like you can feel like the seats start to
it sticks to you,
it's like, okay, like you know what, I'm actually just too old for this now, like my body will not accept
right?
this. It would be one thing if I was in my 20s and I was just a spring breaker and it was all fine, like, but no, my body's like, girl, we can't live like this anymore. So
Right? No, it's 18 hours of maybe like 12 hours and then another 6. I'm like, nope, business class.
yes,
Yeah.
self-care.
Yeah.
Ladies, if you're listening, self care. And, what I want to call out is if you are feeling seen, if you're feeling like, oh, I would never fly business class, right? Catch your scarcity mindset right now. Like, catch yourself because like so often we get caught up in making decisions that don't serve us because we are in a pattern of behavior of judging others, and when it's time for us to make a $1 million decision, those judgment thoughts begin to show up and we are judging ourselves. So just
True.
want to like put in a little bit of coaching here because this is what I feel like keeps us as women stuck is we don't realize so often like what self-care really means is putting yourself first, taking care of yourself. It's not just spa days, it's not just bubble baths, it's not just getting your nails done. It's literally making decisions that serve you regardless of what other folks are going to think. And when we get caught up in worrying about what other folks will think, then we're not really able to practice self-care. And so I love flying business class is absolutely a way to practice self-care. It's a beautiful example to me of $1 million boundary. I would love to chat some more about $1 million squad. So this is something that Rachel talks about. We know how important it is to surround yourself with folks that are of the same mindset. So speaking of scarcity mindset, right? We want folks around us that are of the same mindset, that have good energy, all of the things. So I would love to hear from you, Aya, just on your journey as you've been creating and building your business. For how many years have you been doing this?
Since 2010?
Wow.
Yeah, like 12 years.
Yep. Beautiful. So on your journey, how have you created $1 million squad? And what does that
Okay.
even mean to you? Like, what does it mean to have $1 million squad?
Okay, so I started I mean, I would not be here without my team, and I'll share that when I was living in the Philippines, it was just me managing everything in terms of the architecture part. So I had like 8 employees then, and we were all architects. But then we had to move to the US. And I'm like, wait, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to manage my business from the US? And a friend of mine, he used to manage 500 employees. And he said, Aya, hire an operations manager. I'm like, what? And and I'm like, what do they do? They're like, they'll manage everything about the business. You better hire that person. If you don't hire that person in the Philippines, you're gonna die of exhaustion here in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And then her salary was way more than, like the architects back then. So, but he said you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he ran a 500 person company. So I told my husband, because my husband and I were business partners then, and I said I'm gonna hire an operations manager. And he's like, no, we can't afford it. And then my friend who's a businessman said, don't listen to your husband. And I'm like, okay. And normally I listen to my husband always.
Sure.
So I didn't listen and I just hired her.
Oh my
And because
God.
of her, like she's the mother hen in the Philippines. Now we have like 28, almost 30 people. So operations manager is really important for the day to day.
Yeah.
Another person that I hired was my business manager in the beginning. Like when you're growing a business, you need to diversify. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just, rely on myself. I mean, I'm not a salesperson.
Hmm.
I'm an architect. I'm a creative.
Yeah.
If you met me 3 years ago, I barely talked. Like I was just always working,
Yeah.
right? And my sales manager at that time, now he is my managing director full time. He's like, you need to go to those happy hours, you need to show up, you go to all these events. So that's a second. If you want to grow a business, you need a sales team, a business coach, a business development coach, because you cannot do it alone,
Yeah.
especially for creative. So that's a second one. A business manager. And then the last one, I have a friend who is an investor, and he invests in technology. He's the guy I call, or bounce off ideas when it comes to future proofing your business,
Mm.
right? He's not an architect,
Mm-hmm.
but he's somebody that who can help me find my blind spots. Like, what are the trends in technology? What are the trends in how's the stock market doing nowadays? Like, what are the trends in retail? So, another person, a mentor who can future proof your business,
Yeah.
so you're not blindsided by you know by another calamity, or like recession. So you need to always stay ahead and relevant.
Yes.
So those are the three: operations, business manager, and somebody who can just help you find your blind spots.
Yeah, absolutely. That is such like pro tips for all my business owners and folks that want to be business owners. Pro tips right here. Because I think, this is what we were starting to speak into, but it's you can't scale without asking for help. And it's unrealistic to expect that you can do all the things the very best, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, like you said, you're like, I'm not a salesperson. Like, right? At some point, you had to sell your business and you had to like pitch it to people. And I'm sure there's still times where you have to do that. But there are folks who this is what they do. They are stars, and let me find them. Guys, this is something that Rachel talks about in the book, and having been in her coaching programs, like the difference between working in your zone of genius and working in your zone of excellence, right? We all have, and I think especially as women, and then especially as women of color, like we our zone of excellence is like we have so many, there are so many things that we can execute so well, right? We're like, like I can cook the bacon, put it on the pan, like serve it up, like all the things. Like I can do all the things. I'm trying to think of that old saying, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? But the point is, like, working in our zone of excellence, yes, everything will be great and it will be beautiful and we will be exhausted. And that is not actually where our gifts lie. That's where like we're really good. Sometimes because we've trained to be really good, sometimes because we're naturally good. Our zone of genius, our zone of genius, that is where we are gifted. We are gifted. And you started to speak into this earlier in our conversation about belief in a higher power, right? And I believe in a higher power, whatever you want to call it, creator, source, God, universe, Allah, Buddha, Ra, like so, right, so many names for creator, source. And I believe that when we're operating in our zone of genius, like, of course we won't know 4 or 5 steps ahead because there's like a little bit of like magic there, right? There is that, like, you have to show up with your gifts and let others show up with their gifts, and
Yes.
creator source like fills in the rest. And that's when I
Yeah.
feel like you really get to have fun in your business and get to see like the magic.
Yeah. And also, like, talking about money, right? My father always told me this. He was a very successful lawyer and businessman. And he's also a mentor. He's my mentor, but he
Mm,
always says generosity is the key to success.
yes.
And he said,
Yeah.
if you live your life with a closed fist,
Yep.
you will never receive. You will never receive because your hands never give.
Yes.
So that always stuck in my head. You can't live your life with a closed fist and being so cheap all the time.
Yes.
And then he said that, you have to give till it hurts. And
Mm,
I'm like, dang,
mm,
dad.
mm,
He's like, pay your employees before you pay yourself. That's the rule in the business.
mhm,
Even if you don't pay yourself, you need to pay your staff
mhm,
first. And then he also said, or this is something I read too, that if you close the tap like a water faucet, if
mhm.
you close the tap and money doesn't come out, money doesn't come in either.
Yep.
So that's why whenever, like, I don't have money, I mean, I have little, I always give and share
Yeah.
because I think it will come back in the end.
Yeah.
So my money mindset is really, I've built a strong money mindset through the last 15 years.
Yeah.
But basically seeing my family always giving, they've always been blessed because the
Mhm.
more you give, the more you receive.
Yeah.
And I really believe that truly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to shout out folks that are joining us live. Thank you for joining us live. If you're watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. Let us know any questions that you might have for Aya or myself in the chat. We are getting into really like we should all be millionaires and what that means for business owners, what that means for folks that are following the corporate track, right? Because regardless, we all get to, especially as women and especially as women of color, make more money. And I think exactly what you're saying, Aya, is why one of the reasons why I believe we get to make more money is because studies have shown over and over. I'm pretty sure Rachel talks about it in her book. I can't recall right in this moment. But when women hold more money, we give. Like we give to other women, we give to the causes that we know need help, and not just in ways where like the money gets lost, but in very practical ways, right? You've spoken about hiring folks and making sure that people have jobs, right? That is how women think. When we have more money, that's I think I believe is just part of our natural um, gifts we give. And then I think specifically as women of color, because we know what it means to be in the world and just be looked over, right? So we are going to show up for other women, period. Like that is part of why I created this space, part of why when I created the Ignite Ladies book club, all of our books were by women of color, and I wanted to normalize this is what it looks like when women lead. Because when women lead, when women are in the front of the room, when women are holding the purse strings, everybody feels safe, right? Everybody will be taken care of. As opposed to what we've seen so many times is when we're not in the room or at the table, women get left out, and women of color especially get left out.
Yeah. And also speaking about like confidence and having money, like going back to the first question, there are times when I'm in a table and people don't talk to me because I have some people in my staff who are, white Americans and like men in my staff. So,
Mhm.
we go to meetings and I'm the Filipina. They think I work for the guys, but it just is kind of empowering in a way. My father said it's okay to be underestimated sometimes
Mhm.
because you in your heart you know that you've made it and you're the boss. I don't need to prove anything. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I went to a conference, or I went to a meeting in Maine with a big chain, like, another one of those similar to, anyway, it's a big company with like thousands of restaurants. And I brought my my consultant, this guy Rob, and the whole 2 days they didn't talk to me. Like literally they were just talking to him.
Mhm.
And then later on they're like, "So what's MGS Global Group?" And then Rob was like, "That's Aya, Michelle Garcia Schlachter. She's my boss." And then the guys are like,
Yep.
because we show up as a team. We show up as this is our group. It's
Mhm.
not my team, it's our
Mhm.
team.
Mhm.
And so, sometimes it happens, but it's okay because I know in my heart that I've succeeded.
Yeah.
But it's uncomfortable sometimes, to
Yeah.
be for people not to talk to you. But at the end, it's like, oh shit, oops,
Yeah,
did I
exactly.
say that?
Yeah, because well, yeah. Oh, listen, we cuss all the time. We
All
drink
right,
cocktails and we cuss at NOLA Movement. So
yeah,
I'm surprised you
yeah.
beat me to it.
Yeah, so those, I mean, I've
Yeah.
I've had that a lot. Like people
Yep.
don't talk to me, or even in Vegas, for instance, the night before we were setting up the booth, and I was like passed out on the floor, so tired.
Mm.
And one of the guys next door was like, "Hey, you can't slack on the job, or your boss will." He said, or your boss will, your boss won't like that. And I'm just laughing. I'm like,
You're like, I
wait,
am the
really?
boss.
And then I just said, I smiled. And the following day, I show up in my suit and stuff. And everyone was like, she's the boss. And the guy was like, oh my God.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yes.
funny. It's being underestimated. And
Yeah.
then
Yep.
that's why money is kind of like empowering. You don't have to flaunt it, but you know that the
Yes.
success that you've had is because of
Yes.
you, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
like always under the radar, like, yeah, it's okay.
I love that. I love that. But that gets to be like one of our secret weapons, right? It's like, okay, you're going to overlook me. Got it. Cool. I'm going to use that to my advantage. And thank you for showing me who you are before you know who I am.
Yeah,
Right? Like when people do that, they show us who they are. They show us who
yeah.
they are.
Oh, and when those guys in Maine, like those guys in Maine found out that I was the boss, he was like, "Oh, he was such an whatever." He's like, "Oh, I provide for my family and I let my wife raise my kids and take care of the household.
Mm,
I let my wife." I'm like, "Okay, that didn't sound right." So I just smiled,
yeah.
you know.
And inside rolled your eyes, like, get the hell out of here. Like, get out of my face. I would love for us to jump into a question because I think this is a great question. I
Yeah,
put it up. I don't know. I think you can see it there. But do you ever get imposter syndrome? Like,
always. Always. I mean, I'm in a room, I'm hanging out with, one time with the CEO of Michael Kors and Michael Kors
Mhm.
himself in a party. It's like, "Oh my god, what am I doing here?"
Yeah, yeah,
Several times, yeah.
yeah,
A and, like, when I get asked to speak, I mean, I do speaking gigs just to provide value, especially in architecture, in the women of
yeah,
architecture,
yep,
and people really enjoy the things that I'm sharing.
yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, I'm not even qualified to be here. But then
Mm,
at the end of the day, it's all about the value you can provide to the
yeah,
women who want to listen to your story and your success and your struggles as well.
yeah,
But that's real. Like the first time I spoke to the women CEOs in Kent State, literally the first time I went on public speaking,
yeah.
I had a stomach ache. Like it was worse than
Yes.
giving birth. I
Oh
was like, oh my god. I was so scared. I was like, "Oh my god, my stomach hurts." But I went. That was the first time my first speaking gig. But
yes.
now, yeah,
And
it
now you're
gets
like,
easier.
I got this.
Well,
Yes.
now I have a podcast. Can you believe that?
Yes. I mean, but that's what I mean. Like, and thank you for that. It was such a great question. Again, if you're joining us live, drop the questions. We are here live. We can answer them. If you are watching the replay, drop the questions. We'll make sure we answer them in the reply for you. But I think that's so real, Aya, and it's exactly what we were talking about, right? Like you decide to go on this journey as a business owner, and you begin to just build up what I feel like is a tolerance for doing crazy, scary things.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Right? And so imposter syndrome shows up. and you feel it all in your body in the places that we feel it. And that's a lot of the work that I do, is support women in, like, okay, where are you feeling it in your body? Like, are you feeling it in your chest, in your belly, in your head? What are some things that you can do to move that energy through you, right? Don't ignore it. Don't try and stuff it down, but like let it move through you. If you need to go for a walk, if you need to dance, put on Beyonce. I'll share, I have like a big test coming up tomorrow, and I like know that I need to put on Beyonce so I can like dance it out and get all this nervous energy out. But imposter syndrome is so real. It's so real. It happens to all of us. And as we continue to do bigger, scarier things, right? It will show up again. Like it will show up again. And we get used to it, and we don't back down, right? Like
Yeah.
we keep, just like we were talking about earlier, right? Keep putting your chips on the table, keep doubling down. And, the other thing I'll offer to that question as well is just remembering who you are, like taking the time to breathe and really remember who you are. What are all the things that you've accomplished? And connecting really back with, before all the things you've accomplished, really, it's about connecting back with your worthiness. Like
Yeah.
you are worthy. And so often, and I've started to hear this quote, and I'm going to see if I can get it right. And I've heard Rachel say it, but it's, you might not have the experience, but you are qualified, right?
Yeah.
You might not have the experience, but you are qualified. And, the idea is just that you are worthy. You are worthy to be at the table. You are worthy to be at the front of the room. You are worthy to be leading a business, an organization, in the corporate space, wherever you're at, but you are worthy.
Yeah, and speaking of imposter syndrome, I think that authenticity is really important.
Hmm.
Last year, I got asked to speak in a Nobel Prize international conference with everyone. They were all PhDs,
Mm,
right? We talked about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and everyone, they're like physicists and PhDs, and then me, right? And I'm like, I don't deserve to be here. I'm not a PhD,
yeah.
but when you come up, when you show up as yourself
Yes.
and be authentic, then people will really resonate with you.
Yeah.
But you always have to think about the other person, not about yourself.
Yeah.
When you speak, it's never about me, it's about the value we provide to the listeners. I went to a conference in Austin, and one of the speakers there, Bolanle Ollie, she's a architect. I think she's a Nigerian architect who has a book
Mhm.
also. She said people follow leaders that are people follow leaders that are people don't follow leaders that are perfect. They follow leaders that are real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think more and more, we're seeing that. And I think social media is helping to really like etch that in. Like that's not an option anymore, because information can travel so quickly that when you are being fake or false or unauthentic, like the word travels very quickly, and people will pull up the receipts, right? People will pull up the, like, oh well, you know um I'm thinking of right now our former president, who we're seeing his tax returns right now, right? Like, we're in a day and age where, because of the news, because of social media, like people are pulling up receipts. And so when we show up as leaders and we're not authentic, like not only can people feel that, but I think we live in a time where people do their research, and so they're gonna see, like, oh, and they're gonna do their research on you, right? And so they're gonna pull up Ignite at Night, and they're gonna pull up the videos and listen to the podcast. Like, okay, I really want to get to know Aya, right? She showed
Yeah.
up this way, but let me just like Google her. Let me go to her LinkedIn. So people are like doing their research and getting receipts on folks, and I think that is only demanding and requiring those of us that want to lead authentically, to do so more and more.
Yes. Agree 100%. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes. No, I love this. I knew tonight was just gonna flow so easily with you. And I would love to talk to you, and you've, shared really about what it has felt like to be a Filipina businesswoman. And, this is something that Rachel talks about in the book, is being a Black woman and being a business owner and in the corporate space. And specifically, she talks about her allies and needing versus not needing white men as allies. And so I would love to chat with you about how has that like shown up in your journey? Like, do you feel like there are like certain folks that you have to have as allies to be
Yes.
successful? Or do you feel like you've been able to navigate this journey maybe more in like spaces with women or spaces with more Filipinas? Like, what are your
So,
thoughts around that?
I'm reading this book, or I read this book called Competing with Giants,
Mhm.
right? And I don't represent myself as the owner of the company. It's my company that represents itself.
Mhm.
So but I had a mindset shift, because before it was all about my company. But if you look at my company, our company has worked with a lot of Fortune 500 clients. So I had to shift that, it instead of being about me, it's really
Mhm.
what my brand represents.
Mhm.
Right? But I think in the beginning, it's always about me, and I need allies, which I do need allies. And I know that, for instance, when I go to a meeting in New York, I'll ask the people in New York how many people are coming to that meeting. If is there legal? Is the accounting department going to be there? If they have four people, I need to bring in my three people. You need to level up the playing field
Mhm.
when you show up for work, especially when you're working with corporate clients,
Yeah.
right? So if they're bringing their attorney and legal, I also have to bring somebody in my legal team, even though I don't have a full time legal team.
Mhm.
You know, I'll make sure that I have all these allies: my accounting, bookkeeping, operations manager, clients relations manager. You always need allies.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like the experience in Maine, I needed Rob to be there, because when I found out that every 890, like, I think there were like 12 men
Mhm.
and then three women. And I'm like, nope, I need to bring my ally,
Mhm.
because you can't just go there by yourself. You need to level up the playing field. So
Mhm.
I believe in that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think every time
Yeah.
I ask this question, excuse me, the conversation, especially when there's a panel, it's really rich because folks have different perspectives on what it means to have white men as allies, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
the conversation got really good at the last book club because, it's the reality is there are certain rooms that women of color, Black women, Filipino women, like we wouldn't even know about them. Like we don't know about them, right?
Yeah.
They are happening and they exist, and we will not we won't be granted access to them without an ally, right? And then
Yeah.
when we
And
are,
yeah.
we will be the one person in there. And then if we so choose, and this is where, the conversation gets rich, like we get to then build that bridge so that we're not the only one. Because I think, and
Yeah.
this goes back to some of that scarcity mindset, right? Like, well, I'm the only one, so I don't want there to be any other Black women in here or any other Filipina in here. Like, we're enough. Like, I'm enough. Like, I know how to represent Black, right? And so we kind of then become the gatekeeper. And this is the direction that the conversation went last time I asked this question. But, if I were to be honest about what I believe, I think about somebody like a Jay-Z or a Beyonce, right? And the level that they're operating at, and, to be owners and have part ownership at in rooms like the NFL or the NBA, you are having to create allyship with folks that you might not 100% trust, but you understand that this is a business relationship, and for the people that you serve and for the mission that you serve, like you are going to move in ways that might not feel comfortable, but that are going to serve the mission. And so
Yeah.
I think, for me, that's what I believe. I think, because I'm also thinking about there's so many ways to like make this world a better place. And I think we all have to go about it our own ways. And so I recognize that I think my way is like I think capitalism is nuts, like it's really bananas. And that's the system that we live in. And so I want to make more money so that I'm able to be in those rooms so that I can have that power, right? Create those allyships so that I can then dismantle this, serve my community, make sure that, the people that need to be served get served. So I think that's everything that you're saying is clear. I hope everything I'm saying is clear too, because those are my thoughts on it.
No, I think it's important to recognize that we need other people too, right? Like allies are really important, especially if you're trying to build a multi-million dollar business.
Yeah,
Like, we got accountants and lawyers. Like, we can't all get all Filipino accountants and Filipino lawyers. We need to find people who are actually experts in their fields. So whether they're black, Filipino, white, whatever,
yeah.
it's about how we can get that $1 million business,
Yes, yeah,
right?
absolutely. That's how when I think about making the world a better place, which is my big mission, I'm on a mission to like change the world, right? Because it is imbalance and it's not just, I believe women are the key to that. And I believe women being well is the key to that. And I feel like when we are well and we have more money, like the world shifts, right? The world shifts.
Yeah, I love that you always have wellness as kind of like your core, because when you can't take care of yourself, you need to prioritize yourself, which
That's
is what
it.
I love about the NOLA movement. It's about your well-being, it's about your health. It's okay to be selfish. People are like, "Oh, you're so selfish." No, you absolutely have to be selfish.
Yes.
Because if you get sick and die, or like if you don't take care of yourself, who's
Then
gonna
what?
take care of your kids,
Then
your
what?
husband, your business?
Yep.
It's hard to get past that. Oh, I'm so selfless. I used to be that
Mm,
girl. Like, I used to be very shy, timid, and always serving.
yeah.
Now I serve at a different capacity. First, I got to take care of myself so I can serve my staff, my clients, my family, my kids.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just a mindset shift of it's okay to be selfish,
Ah,
right? It's okay to go to the spa and get a half a day massage, ladies.
come on. Yep. I love this.
Right?
I love
Yeah.
this because it goes back to it's okay to fly business class. It's okay
Yes.
to get
Yeah.
a therapist and sit with a therapist, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to spend thousands of dollars on a coach, a business coach, a mindset coach, right? Someone who's going to like support you and pour into you. Like that is next level self-care. Like it is okay. It is okay to take the day off for no reason and not tell anybody because you just want to be quiet, right?
Yes.
It's okay. It's
No, I love everything that you're saying, Nikki. I believe in that like 100%.
Listen, I knew that our time was gonna fly by. Like I knew this was gonna be such a fun conversation.
Wow.
I know. I was like,
Well, when
no.
you come back to Cleveland, we need to hang out.
Oh, you already know. I know where you live, so
Yes. We need to go to Sephora and do our makeup shopping.
yes. Go to Sephora and go to, speaking of spa, like have a little spa day.
Yes, yes.
But I would love as we are closing, and I love that we are closing on the note of self-care. I would love for you to share maybe what is one thing that you would offer to women as they're thinking about wanting to make more money, like whether it is in business, like both of us are in business, You have a much larger business and have been doing this much longer than I have, right? But we're both in business, we're both on the journey. And for women who are maybe like even in the corporate space or maybe like stay at home and they're just like, I just need to make more money, especially as we are looking at a possible recession. Like, what is maybe one or two things that you would offer to them of how they can begin to think about making more money?
I think you need to find a problem that you can solve, and that is really what's going to give you the more money.
Mhm.
Because if you just want to make money, but you're not trying to solve a problem, then that's kind of like a, catch 22. So look for gaps in the marketplace, like where can you offer that it's not being done.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, like, you know um don't do everything the same thing other people are doing. Or if you do, what makes your product unique? Why will they buy from you and not the other person, right? But at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is helping solve a problem.
Yeah.
So that's find that problem that you want to solve, and you'll realize you won't even need to sell.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes is from this business marketing coach. If you have a product or service that offers value
Yeah.
to other people, it's your moral obligation to share.
Yes.
So a lot of people don't like to sell. Oh, I don't like to sell, it's tacky. But if you have a product or service that provides value to other people,
Yes.
it's your moral obligation to inform them.
Yes. It is
So
your
that's
moral
yeah,
obligation. I love
right?
that.
Whether it's selling a cute T-shirt that says "Mom's
Yes.
Rule," or then if
Yes.
somebody makes them happy to see a T-shirt about "I'm a badass mom,"
Yes.
then it makes. So that's the
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
So demystify that sales is tacky. No, if you have a good product, it's your obligation.
Yep.
So go share it with the world.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love that. Amazing. Aya, thank you so much for your light and for your wisdom, for sharing your experience and the stories that you brought. I feel so blessed that I have been connected to you and got to meet you this year, and just look forward to continuing to watch your journey and to be in your $1 million squad of ladies that you can we can hang out and celebrate one another.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, last thing, where can people find you if they want to connect with you, if they want to listen to your podcast? Like, tell us about where we can find you, where we can connect with you.
You can find me in the architectmylife.com. My podcast, Architect My Life Podcast, but you can also find me on social media, Aya_Architect My Life. Or you can connect with me on Instagram, Architect My Life Podcast. So I'll drop the links, or I can share with you the links so they can. I'm very active on Instagram, so people text me on Instagram, I respond.
Yeah.
Not so much in email. I think it's the new thing nowadays.
Yeah.
That's where people chat in social.
Yeah, Instagram. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
I just dropped the link for the podcast Instagram so that way you can find the Instagram. And also in the show notes, the website is there. So make sure you connect with Aya on Instagram and visit her website. Aya, thank you so much for your time and energy tonight.
Thank you.
All right, friends. That is another Ignite at Night. Oh my God, my heart is full. My heart is full. And truly, 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 I believe that we should all be millionaires. And, that last piece of advice that Aya left us with is, what is the problem that you get to solve? And you have a moral obligation to offer that to the world. And so if it is selling t-shirts, if it is selling brownies, if you know that you have a gift for just loving on people and showing up and supporting people, how can you make money doing that? Right? So we should all be millionaires. We get to all be millionaires. We get to be on this journey, whether you are already in business, whether you're in corporate and you're making a side hustle, or if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're looking for that extra cash flow, think through like, how can you help? How can you serve? So this is Ignite at Night. My name is Nike Olabisi-Green. I'm the creator and chief movement leader at NOLA Movement, and I believe that when we are well from the inside out, we can change the world. And I'm on a big mission to change the world, and that includes you right here. So thank you to my partners, American Liquor Co. Y'all are fabulous. Look, I'm almost done with my cocktail. I'm going to finish it right now. I'm thrilled to have them with me through the holidays. And this is our last Ignite at Night for 2022. We are going to move our final book, 1619 Project, into the new year. And I'm so excited to dive into that one with you. I think it's going to be a great way to start 2023. We're going to lay it all out. So make sure you continue to follow, like, share, subscribe, all of the things. And I'm wishing you and yours the happiest of holidays. And I will see you in the new year. Take care. Peace.